Hey rockers, man, sorry about the delay, man. I've had a lot of travel and a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and yeah, lots of good things coming up, man, that's for sure. I've gotten a ton of mail and a lot of messages with people saying, talk about the Bloody Mess band, talk about the Skabs, talk about, your own musical stuff. So today I'm going to do that. I've talked about two of my albums on this channel, Sixth Grade Field Trip with Bloody Mess and the Skabs, and my brand new Dark Days Unfazed album. Today I want to talk about something that people have been requesting, so I'm going to go ahead and knock it out today, guys. It's the story of Bloody Mess and the Skabs Hungover and Stoned album. This is my second album that I was a part of, but it was Bloody Mess and the Skabs' second album, and this came out in 1994 on Black and Blue Records. Of course, that's myself with Gabby Skab, the drummer, on the front cover. And on the back, you'll see the same two guys sauntering over at the bar there. Oh, yeah. And this album was pretty cool and epic because it has 17 songs. Actually, 16, because track 17 are a couple of different radio interviews we did when we appeared on the Lytle and Lamb morning show. And it's some pretty funny stuff. I actually hadn't heard this in a long, long time until a few minutes ago. I thought, let's do a refresher. So I put the CD on, and I gotta say, man, it stands the test of time in my book. I really dig this album. I think it's got a lot of great punk rock and roll, mostly punk rock. And, there's a lot of detail here. And people ask me about this stuff, and I'm like, well, let's do a video talking about Hungover and Stoned. It's a tune that I've been carrying on the tradition of playing since this album came out. I've been in various bands and over the years, and I've tried to keep Hungover and Stoned somewhere in my set, and it's a great sing-along tune. And when the Skabs were together, let's face it, the band was punk slash shock rock. And the band was known for not really trying to aim towards like super high musical goals, although we did accomplish that with these great musicians and writers that have made this album happen. And I intend to give every single one of those guys credit today on this video, and it's all from my heart. And I think that these songs have often been overlooked, and I've been given all the credit. That was not intentional, but that's just been the frontman deal. But tonight, man, I don't know. I'm gonna shatter that frontman deal and not get all the attention. I'm gonna talk about the people on this album, man. They deserve credit, and I'm gonna give it today and acknowledge and tell the story of this. This was recorded in two different sessions. Actually, I think three, to be honest. There are actually five guitar players on this album. Each of them are awesome, and there's also 4 bass players, but the only 2 people that were consistent on all the tracks, including doing the radio interviews, was myself and Gabby Skab, the drummer. So he's on the whole album, I'm on the whole album. So when we did the cover, we were in some weird in-between phase, I think, with the band, and probably just him and I kind of at the helm, which often happened with me and Gabby. We kept it going for a long time, man, from like, what, 87, 88 to, I think 88 to like 94. That was a good run, man. It was a crazy, crazy band, man. Lots of crazy stuff happened in Bloody Mess and the Skabs. It's been documented in newspapers in the Midwest. We've made a couple of books we've been in. The band was notorious. We ended up on the Phil Donahue talk show, the Rolanda talk show, Passengers out of the UK. There's so many stories that branch off from the 8-year run that was Bloody Mess and the Skabs. But on this particular album, which is one I really stand by, I got to get to it, man. 17 songs, Black and Blue Records. The band had already released our debut 7-inch, Bloody Mess and the Skabs, self-titled. We'd also put out the empty 7-inch. By the way, the first one was on Mephisto Records out of New York City, New Jersey area. Empty came out on Black and Blue Records already at that point, the single, which has the song Voodoo Doll that you can't find on this album, which is a shame. That's on there as well. And Sixth Grade Field Trip had already been put out, our first album. But this one had Jeff Gregory playing on the first 2 songs, and he's very significant in this story. Jeff Gregory I can't give enough credit to be honest. Jeff co-wrote the song Hungover and Stoned with me, which is the title song of the album, and a song that is carried on today. It's actually been recorded by several artists in the last couple of years. I found out a couple times by accident too, and then one of the guys did tell me and stuff, so that's cool. But yeah, it's an honor. And Hungover and Stoned and Cheerleader for Death, which is another awesome tune that stands the test of time. Jeff Gregory is on acoustic guitar on Hungover and Stoned, and he plays the lead and rhythm. on Cheerleader for Death. Cheerleader for Death, of course, Hungover and Stoned is a country song. We did that because we were a shock rock band and we thought it would be fun and turn the tables and not be predictable. And we all liked all kinds of music. So we thought, let's do a little country number that's just basic and fun. And that's what Hungover and Stoned is all about. That song is like a little campfire ditty for punk rock weirdos. So anyway, Cheerleader for Death. That's about those people that, like particularly people that have affairs and start having a relationship with serial killers and like writing letters to them and like literally becoming like the lover or fiance of like a convicted hardcore like serial killer. And I thought those people are kind of like murder groupies. And it's funny because back in 1994, there was an album that came out on Black and Blue Records called G.G. Allin, The Bloody Years. And actually, no, it was 93. 93, I stand corrected. And we put a song on there that we recorded as a tribute to Gigi to put on this album, The Bloody Years, and we called it Murder Groupies. And that's the song that became Cheerleader for Death. When this album came out, we retitled it thinking that Cheerleader for Death was more of an appropriate title than Murder Groupies. And Cheerleaders for Death is what they were, cheering on their completely sociopathic and psychopathic lovers. And boy, people like Richard Ramirez and stuff like that, those people have women in a mile long, and it's sickening to like think, geez, really? So that became Cheerleader for Death. You got to remember, man, this album was recorded when I was like between age 26, 27, and 28. It was recorded in 3 sessions. Bill Meisner played lead and rhythm guitar on a very important song on the album called Empty. Not only that, Bill co-wrote the song, and it was the first song Bill Meisner had ever written. And I remember the day he came to my house and said, dude, I got my first song I ever wrote, my first original. I want to play it for you, man. And I said, can't wait. And Empty was so awesome and haunting, and the lyrics came like that. I think I wrote them in 15 minutes, and Bill and I still to this day are very happy with that cool-ass song that we co-produced. I just realized half of my face is kind of shaded. I kind of like this effect. Yeah, I don't have any natural or any lights on, just the window open, man. Just trying to see what kind of effects I can get with nothing. Cheap bastard! So Bill Meisner also played guitar on the song Wannabe. Wannabe was a socio-political song written by my brother Chance Rush, who I contributed some of the lyrics to, but he wrote the majority of it. Jeremy Blug Kerner does not ever get enough credit either. Jeremy Blug Kerner was the guy that played on the majority of the album, and he wrote and played on these cool-ass tunes that all these years later, I'm totally finding gratitude for and appreciating them more than I did before. And I'm realizing that, you know, it's important to get Jeremy's name out there. I think he's still in the band Solar Wimp in California. I'm not sure. But he's an awesome dude, a really good person, and a killer guitar player. Very killer. I was speaking to Kevin Beveridge today, the bass player that used to be with the Skabs, and he was talking to me about how Jeremy was just such an awesome shredder on the guitar. He was. And he wrote good stuff, man. He plays guitar on tracks 3 through number 11 on this album. So out of 16 songs, he's on number 3 through 11. Then we've got, of course, Mike Hensley. Mike Hensley was in the band briefly. He played rhythm guitar on Empty and Wannabe. Also, Look It or Live It. Chris Prentice, he played guitar and bass on that song. And Born to Win, Live to Lose, he played guitar and bass. And Chris Prentice also played guitar and bass on This Same Old Town. And I'm not sure if he or Jim Jackson wrote those songs or if they co-wrote them. I think Chris did, but Jim might have. So Jim Jackson, if you're watching, I'm not trying to disclude you, bro. I just don't remember Jim being in the studio with us, and I checked all the credits, and I don't see anywhere with Jim's named. But it says Chris Prentice on guitar and bass. My memory's a little fuzzy with those recording sessions because of, well, heavy alcohol use at the time, man. But, you know, it was 3 sessions. Bass players, we had Kevin Beveridge, who played on 4 through 11. So that's a huge chunk of the record, and the bass is solid. Kevin Beveridge, a.k.a. Kevin Hine, living happily in the state of Arizona today. Boy, I should have talked about the others. Back up. Jeff Gregory, he's doing well in Peoria, Illinois today. Great guy, still in touch with Jeff here and there. We talk. Jeremy Kerner, I was in touch with him for a while. He's in Solar Wimp, like I said. Bill Meisner, doing great in the film cutting industry in Hollywood. He cuts big, huge Hollywood films, literally. That's what he does. He's a film cutter. Is that the name of it, Bill? Also, Mike Hensley, haven't talked to that dude since back in the day. Oh my God, since this album came out, I have no idea what he's doing. Chris Prentice, we were in touch briefly. He's on social media, and I think he's still living in Tazewell County, Illinois. And I wish nothing but the best to all these guys. And of course, Kevin Beveridge, my buddy in Arizona, he's still out there. Cheers, mate. Ugly Ted, yep, the original bass player for the Skabs, and he was on the, all the records, but he's on this one as well. He played on Empty, a very vital song again, and he also played on Wannabe. So props to Ted. He's a chiropractor. I'm not sure, is he still practicing chiropractic? And he's a jewelry maker, I think, and he makes I don't know. Ted's a man of many colors and a very, to me, was always like a Renaissance man kind of guy. Almost like a Viking, but without the raping and pillaging. Seriously, Ted's awesome, and I'm in touch with him. Also on this album, my brother, my blood brother, Steve Disturbed, actually played second bass guitar on the song Empty. Most people don't know there's two bass players on the song Empty, the original version of Empty. Yep, my brother played on that. And as a matter of fact, my brother also played bass on the song Voodoo Doll that you can find on the Empty 7-inch, and he's the only bass player on that song. And we appeared, just me and my brother, and Fish, the original guitar player for the Skabs, got together and recorded a 10-second song. Yep, this album, or 7-inch record, came out on green vinyl. And this is from Slap-A-Ham Records. Super killer packaging. Bloody Mess and the Skabs are officially on this with a song called Work by Die. And it's a song that most people haven't heard or know about. And this record has, this is going to freak you out, you audiophiles and record collectors. 41 bands on this 7-inch and 64 songs. Yeah, all these bands doing 10, 20-second songs. It was time to get creative, so we came up with a song called Work by Die. And man, this thing has got Impetigo, the band Psycho. It's got so many bands that I've heard of. Psycho Sin, just all kind, Napalm Breath, haha. And there's all kinds of bands like the band known as AC, you know who they are. Yeah, lots of great bands on this one. And my brother and I and Chris, aka Fish from the original Skabs, got together with no drummer and just recorded a 10-second song. So moving on, Scott Steer also played on some very vital songs on this record on the bass guitar. Scott's an awesome dude, still lives in Central Illinois, doing well. Always sends me funny stuff over on Facebook Messenger. Love you, bro. But Scott played on Cheerleader for Death and the song Murder in Waco. Yep, those are two badass songs, and he did a great job on those tunes, man. All the lyrics on the album were written by myself, except for Wannabe by Chance Rush. He wrote most of it. And we did a cover of the Plasmatics' Sex Junkie. And that was written by Stotts Beach Axeman. And of course, shout out to my brother Wes Beach, who I know is subscribed to my channel and watches my videos. And if you would take a second to subscribe to this channel, I'd really appreciate it, guys. And please hit that like button for me, if you would, and leave a comment. I'd like to see where you're watching from, perhaps. Are you in Antarctica? What else do we go on from here? Let's turn the page over, man. I made some notes. There's a cool lyric sheet with the album Hungover and Stoned. It's got all the lyrics, all the credits. We thanked a lot of people, but of particular significance is my still my brother, but he died back in the 90s, late 90s. Rest in peace, Dean Dirt. It says right on there, thanks to Dean Dirt for spiritual inspiration. Yep. He was my guru, man. The front and back cover photos for this iconic album cover were taken at the Sandbur Lounge in central Peoria, Illinois area by Tina Fadzilla. It's an epic shot with just me and Gabby deciding to be on the album cover ourselves, since we were in between bands and there was like all these musicians, like 10, 12 musicians on this thing. So at the time there were no band, there was nobody in the band. It was just a concept. And most of the time this band was just a concept, really. And I think the guys that were in it will attest to that, except for maybe on a few occasions. When we had a particular lineup, like say when Jeff Gregory was in the band with Kevin Beveridge and Gabby and I, that was a particularly heavy moment of awesomeness. I don't even know how to put it into words, man. Too much in the car. I don't know. Recorded at Picture Perfect Studio. Most of this album by the great Sean Bryan. Yep, shout out to Sean Bryan, who's an awesome dude. Still in touch with him. He's awesome. Yeah. Picture Perfect Studio. I recorded there a few times. It was like my little go-to studio, with Sean Bryan being a great engineer and mixer and recorder. Jeff Gregory, though, produced this album. Let's make this clear. We weren't producers, but Jeff was more advanced musically than anybody that was at the helm at the time when we actually put this thing together. And the last songs we recorded for it, I believe, were Hungover and Stoned and Cheerleader for Death. And then that capped off all the songs we had recorded at different times, because the other songs that weren't recorded at Picture Perfect were recorded at Wooden Nickel Studio in Dunlap, Illinois by the great Don Rosser. What a legend. Don Rosser, if you're out there watching, man, I still respect you. He's a great engineer and mixer, and he put up with a lot of really juvenile behavior and really kind of offensive songs that we recorded there back in the day that were not PC, I guess. But, you know, the Skabs weren't known for being PC. You know, there's also an extra special thanks for those of you who continue to give us free drinks, money, and other fleshly pleasures. We'll drink to that. Yep, that said that in our booklet. Yeah, when I say Jeff Gregory produced the record, he did. Now, make no mistake about it, at the time me and Gabby were a part of the mixing. We definitely had a say-so, but I think Jeff took the helm and pretty much said, here, what do you think? And we were probably like, awesome, bro, because the guy's so talented. You know, he was in the band Dollface, and he's done so much more than that, of course, but yeah. So props to all those guys, man. Every single one of those guys that I mentioned, I just wanted to give them a shout out, and I appreciate all the music. It's awesome experience to look back on. You know, we went through a lot of tumultuous times, mostly because of over intake of substances, man. And you can't live in regret. You can only go forward, man. So I look back and remember the good times, and it's not a thing of convenience. It's a thing of necessity, because if you live in the past, man, it's just not good psychologically or any other way. Even it manifests physically eventually. So you got to forgive yourself. And if you don't, you can never be forgiven. So forgiveness does start with thyself, proclaims Bloody F Mess. So should I go through these songs and talk about a little bit? The last track, track 17, is actually two different radio interviews from WWCT Rock 106 Radio, the Lytle and Lamb Morning Show. The first one is hilarious. It's drummer Gabby Skab calling in and talking to the guys, and it's just super funny and offensive and hilarious. And then the second call is not a call, it's the band in the studio, which consisted of Jeff Gregory on acoustic guitar, Gabby on the drum, whatever pieces he had with him, I think a snare and a hi-hat, and then me on vocals. And we did Hungover and Stoned live in the studio, and did an interview which was super, super controversial at the time. The stuff we talked about was unhinged, pretty over the top. When I hear it now, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I was 28, 27, you know, 27, 26. So all I can say now is I'm not that age, and you freaking go on, man, you know. Do I see myself in a great light in some of that stuff? Not so much, but it is funny. I got to say it. Some of it's definitely funny, and that's funny. Humor's humor. I'm from the town where Richard Pryor's from. I'm from the town where Sam Kinison resided. You know what I'm saying? So those are some of my influences. I can't help it, guys. Real quickly, if you're still watching, because I think if you're into the album, you might care about this. This first song, Hungover and Stoned, is what it is. It's a country tune. Second one, Cheerleader for Death. It's about those murder groupies. The third one, Murder in Waco. It's about David Koresh and all the stuff that happened when the FBI killed them, the people in that cult and stuff. Crazy, in Waco, Texas. It's pretty intense and heavy. I love that song. Then there's a song called Mirrors, which is autobiographical, and it's really intense. Probably one of my favorite songs on the album. Leech, another one of my favorites. That one is about a stalker. So somebody stalking somebody. It's called Leech, because they won't let go and they just attach themselves. And then there's My Address Book, because, well, back in the day before I was married and things like that, I always had an address book, and you know what was in that address book? A whole bunch of phone numbers, and we'll leave it at that. But I was kind of known in my little tiny circle for, where's my address book? I lost my address book. I gotta get my address book. So I thought, what a great song title, My Address Book. And the great Jeff Gregory came up with that music that's so poppy yet punk rock. It's badass, Jeff. And then after that, we've got Not Very Pretty, another one of my favorites. I got to tell you, and I know my friend Lisa Leathers will agree, Not Very Pretty is about a chick that's really hot, or girls that are really hot, and a guy just completely ignoring them and not acknowledging them and thinking, you're not really that pretty to me. And it's just being a sarcastic thing about supermodel types that expect all guys to, you know, fawn over them. And we were kind of like, let's write a song that's against that whole thing. And like, we're not looking at the chicks. Instead, we're just saying, you're not very pretty to me. It was a snotty little punk song. Scab Seduction, just a really heavy, introverted, tripped out song. I don't know. You'll have to check out the lyrics on that one sometime. I was going to read them, but it's too much. Too much content. I don't want to bore you. Tragedy is another autobiographical song about the world itself that was covered by a couple of different people recently. Sadistic Cowboys covered it, I believe, or was it Drayton Sawyer? I think Drayton Sawyer. And also my other brother, oh man, he just did an acoustic version the other day and posted it on my page. And the old memory is not what it used to be, guys. I'll think of his name in a minute, and he'll probably post in the comments. Please, dude. God darn it. He's one of my good friends I talk to all the time. Dude. Anyway, he just recorded an acoustic version, and he just caught me in a dude moment. You guys got me in a dude moment. Oh, well. Then Chewing the Fat is the next song, a song written about, well, Jeffrey Dahmer. It's called Chewing the Fat. Yeah, it was about that whole incident because we actually played at a thing called Scumfest, which was in Milwaukee with all these really intense bands, kind of like the Skabs were, but like 10 or 15 of them. And it was called Scumfest, and we like were one of the headliners. Wow, what a great title, huh? But we played that, and Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment was across the street, and it was still taped off with yellow caution tape from the police. It was still a fresh crime scene. It was like days into that whole thing being uncovered and all that horrible cannibalistic nasty stuff that happened. Yeah, man. Whoo! So this song is called Chewing the Fat, which was written about Dahmer, that whole thing. Then we got Sex Junkie, our little tribute to Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics. The only thing we didn't do was the talking part in the middle. I don't know why, but I didn't want to try to duplicate what Wendy said because I felt like that was something really special and I didn't want to do it. So we left that as a musical piece. But other than that, I think the Sex Junkie cover is pretty good. Then we did Empty, which is a classic song that I've kept alive. I don't know about any of the other guys in the bands, but I've been playing that song with different bands ever since it came out in 94. So yeah, Empty is alive today, and it's been covered by many bands. It's been re-recorded by me twice. Bloody Mess and the Veins recorded Empty in 99, and I recorded a version with Pat McGlynn from the Bay City Rollers and Gogs from the band Holocaust, and those guys live in Scotland, and we recorded Empty too. So it's been done 3 times by me, with me on vocals. Also after that, we've got Look It or Live It, which was a true story, another autobiographical one, but kind of looking out at society and people that are fake and that dress up rock and roll on the weekends, but they're really not that way. But whatever. Again, I was in my like 20s when I wrote these lyrics. But Look It or Live It is one of the most intense of the Scab songs. One of the best. Wannabe, Chance Rush, shout out to him for the lyrics. It's a political song all the way. Pointing fingers at the little anarcho-punk guys that were, around at the time. Born to Win, Live to Lose, another autobiographical heavy tune with Chris Prentice on bass and guitar. Shout out to Chris Prentice. And also This Same Old Town, another heavy tune written about Peoria, Illinois. What can I say? Thanks you guys for watching and sticking around this long. I was gonna actually read some of these lyrics, but I thought, if you can, if you need the lyrics, let me know. I'll try to hook you up, man. But I want to say thanks to all my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. I'm gonna try to get more stuff going soon. Stay tuned for more. And if you would do me a big favor and subscribe, share, comment, and like all that good stuff, it's a huge favor because I'm building the channel and it's getting fun. I enjoy it. And I'll do another live hopefully soon. If anyone's interested, please leave a comment in the comment section. Should I go live again or should I wait for a while? Cheers, my friends.